about halfway into June, and it's been one of the busiest months in the video gaming industry, especially for consoles. Last week, we went on and introduced over 20 AAA mobile games as big as PlayStation 5 games in scale. Today, we're gonna do one of your favorites. There's over 20 brand new offline games you can pick up right this very moment on your Android and iOS. Sitting on the Google Play Store exclusive for a few months now. Finally playable offline and worldwide, #1. In case you missed it, we've got the Sense Point. I don't even think it's necessary to say it's a game inspired by the old gold, the Neverhood. Suffice it to say, it's one of the most detailed mobile games we have ever played. It's a puzzle adventure game. The chapter 1 is free, the rest is paid. SensePoint has actually took over 7 years to fully develop. Have any of you over here played the Supermarket Manager Simulator last month? Big game, it's already downloaded over 10 million times. If the answer is yes, you should probably remove it now and start playing City Gas Station Sim. It's another work of the same developers with even more quality of life improvements. You run your own gas station, you order fuel, install fuel dispensers, buy licenses fuel, and with whatever you earn, you get to improve your station, your car washes, sell your own products and develop more as you go. Really addicting stuff, especially if you do like strategy games. Moving on to number 3, I'm pretty sure at least some of you have already tried the Ash of Gods Tactics, but still, for those of you who haven't caught up with this review, this is the second work of its developers and the follow-up to Ashes of God Tactics, which was one of the worthiest of competitors to Banner Saga. See, Redemption over here, however, is a story-driven and a turn-based role-playing and a roguelike game, plays offline, it's available only on Android, and it's a free game too. Coming up behind that at number 4, we have Psycho World. Classic game, it's a first-person survival game where you have to survive this chaotic island full of random monsters that really don't like anyone. However, you can actually capture them and use them as you want. You get to go around when it's light out there, gather whatever you can and live a little until it's night, which is you either hide or you have to deal with even worse monsters. Anyway, it's an offline game too. If you like surviving so much, so to speak, you might as well go ahead and try Zombie Hunter 2. This is actually the new work of the same developers of Cover Fire Fun. That games alone downloaded nearly 500 billion times on the Play Store. Now these developers are very keen to first-person shooters and zombie games, and the new game over here is a must-try if you're rooting for something with high quality. It's about 1 GB in total, plays offline, online as well, it's free. Sitting on itch for the price of $30. Number 6, we have Legends of the Skyfish 2, now available on Android and iOS for the price of $3, just a tenth of the PC version's price. It's a puzzle action adventure game suitable for pretty much all ages, and the best part is it actually is you can play with a controller. This was first released on the Apple arcades over 4 years ago. It's now redone for Android and iOS. Haven't played it myself, but the reviews are quite decent on Android. It's been just a few months, but the fine developers finally came up with a sequel to the Scary School sim, now 3. Now, first of all, don't let this trailer fool you, just give it a second. Scary School is definitely one of the underrated games in the list, and it is kind of disliked due to its slightly inappropriate design. It follows an original PC game though, that was released a few years ago. The sequel here now is on mobiles. It's a definitely freemium anime horror thriller that's actually set in a girls' high school that's surrounded by a graveyard. Forget scary school sim. You're probably familiar with the scary teacher games, right? The prank games with survival horror elements. Anyway, the same developers have a new game released just a few days ago called Sneak Squad. Now, it's a tricky game. It's not entirely offline. You can play this one either solo or with friends. It's a arcade-style adventure game with lots of rooms and hidden objects with which you can prank others and get points. It's a free game though. It takes you about 400 megabytes in total. Coming in at number 9. This is Extreme Wheels. You see, the game is a realistic open world bike sim and actually one of the biggest games in today's list too. In fact, it's a 1 gigabytes big new game from the famous developers of the Extreme motorbikes. That game's actually downloaded roughly 100 million times on the Play Store alone. This is another realistic bike sim game. There's over 40 different bikes to choose and purchase. The drifting and driving mechanics are pretty perfect and it plays offline as well. Moving on to number 10, we have another open world survival game in nature called Wolf Hero. So previously, if you had the chance to play squirrel simulators and mouse survival simulator games, which are, by the way, each downloaded north of 10 million times, you're gonna find Wolf Hero even better. This is a role-playing game with simulator elements set in open world. We have to team up with the residents of the forest to save it from robots. It's an offline game, there's a ton of quests to finish in this game, and the whole thing is roughly 200 megabytes in total. Forget Wolf Hero, forget even Extreme Wheels. How about a mobile equivalent of Subnautica? Just less scary, more chill. Meet Underwater Planet Survival. It's another open world underwater adventure game set in an alien planet ocean, filled with all kinds of wonders and dangers, where you've just crash landed and the first thing you do in order to live is to gather, craft, and just make something to survive with it. Pretty decent game, roughly 200 megabytes in total, plays entirely offline. Downloaded over 30,000 times in less than a day. Number 12, we have Island Defense. It's a tower defense game, as you can see, but it's definitely more than it just looks. If you had the chance to play the famous strategy mobile game from a long time ago called Bad North, you're gonna feel right at home as soon as you pick this one up. It's a free one, what's the harm? I mean, it's just 15 megabytes. In total, it's quite simple and it gets very challenging too. Unfortunately, it's available only on Android until further notice. Some of you might hate me for it, but Super Bikers 3, I'm really proud to include it in the list. These developers have made over 100 games to this day, all mobile exclusive and honestly, some of the best. However, all of them look just like this. For what it's worth, the engine they're using for the game is pretty basic and classic, but the new entry over here is one hell of a drift and stunt dirt bike racing game with 0 ads. There's a lot of unlockables, lots of tracks. Give it a 9 out of 10. With over 10,000 purchases and a hefty $8 price tag. Number 14, we have Skull, the Hero Slayer. What? This game's sitting on both the Google and the App Store, and it supports controllers. Considering it's been in the making for a whole year into mobiles, it is right now actually the number 5 most purchased action game of 2024 on the Play Store. The game is just as good as the PC version, except it's playable on the go, which is even better. Highly recommended if you like roguelike platformers. Sitting on the Google Play Store via the Netflix membership. If you got one, go ahead and try the case of The Golden Idol right now. It's a point-and-click puzzle game that's rated a 5 out of 5 on both stores as of yesterday, and it's one of the most classic mystery puzzle investigation pixel art games that is pretty much ever made. I mean, it's formerly a PC game from a few years ago, which is now on mobiles for free. It offers an excellent narrative and probably the most engaging story in today's list. That is just if mobile games have story. Anyway, the whole thing's about 800 megabytes in total. Go ahead and play Zona Research if you like games like Daisy, you just don't want the online hustle. It's an RPG survival third-person shooter, quite simple. It's set in a exclusion zone guarded by the military with all kinds of hazards. There's bandits, mutants, even zombies. It's a free game, about 150 megabytes in total, set in a semi-open world with adjustable graphics. With no more than 1,000 downloads on the Play Store, Max Speed is another honorable mention in our today's list, and it could definitely use more attention. The game's a top-down, racing, classic, old school, and it does support online play, although you can play it entirely offline, just make sure to turn off Wi-Fi. Physics are decent, there's a considerable pool of cars to choose from, upgrades, better engines, and just a few different modes to play through as well. Lots of tracks. Coming up behind that at number 18, we have Dragon Wings. I highly doubt any of you here is a stranger to bullet hell arcade shooters, so I just remind you, this is another offline game released last week and it's nearly downloaded 100,000 times ever since. So, I don't know, if you suddenly decided to play this game with Wi-Fi, you get an infinite amount of ads, but if you go with no Wi-Fi, it's entirely playable offline and there's gonna be no problem with your data. It's a really fast game in pace, quite fine in quality. With just 50 downloads, just 50. That is so ridiculous, I might just give this game a special recommendation in a single video because not only it's an underrated gem, but the most fast action and fine-tuned indie racing game I have played for many weeks. I think you'll definitely feel right at home with this one if you grew up playing Dirt, the Need for Speed games. It's both that, it boasts a pretty good visual compared to the 100 megabytes it's asking for, and for some reason it's an offline game too. Playable offline thoroughly. We've actually talked about Europe Front Remastered before, in case you missed it. This game is one of the top 10 Russian games ever made on the Play Store. It's a World War II style first-person shooter classic that was received so well, developers just decided to randomly come up with a remastered version of it. It's improved in quality, gameplay, now sitting on Android and iOS for free, and takes you about 1 GB in total. Five Nights at Maggie 3, it's been a whole year, but it's finally here since the previous game. This might just be the perfect go-to if you've already played all the FNAF games, or say you couldn't afford the premium version of them. Five Nights at Maggie's is a offline game, and once again bringing back Maggie and some new friends that will be joining her on the stage. It's a strategic horror suspense game, definitely right up there in quality with FNAF, and it's available only on Android. Been around for over half a year now. Number 22 we have Autobahn No Limits. It's actually a German game, that's why I said Autobahn. One of the most impressive running games you'll play this month if you like racing, without a doubt. It's one of the most exhilarating games in the list. Not only is it pretty realistic in design, but the cars and environmental effects make you feel just right at home, and it's all very simple to play too. Highly recommended if you like fast action games. It's free and about 200 megabytes in total. Oh, sitting on both the Google and the App Store, number 23, we have Animal City Rampage. I think you're gonna have a good few hours with this one too if you have played the old Goat Simulator games. It's pretty fresh, funny, and quite smooth to be honest, and the whole thing is just 100 megabytes in size and plays offline unless you use internet. In this game, you get to choose just the biggest animals, the most dangerous animals on Earth, and go about destroying cities and cars for coin. Free game is definitely underrated.
Kost.
And last but not least, well, if you could handle Pinoy, this game, juried Malam, I think. It's a puzzle first-person story-driven horror game, one of the scariest we've seen for months. It's free and actually rated a 5 out of 5. And that's it. Thanks for watching.